Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for an episode filled with inspiration, faith, and the magic of storytelling with a man whose words have the power to uplift and inspire readers of all ages. So stay tuned. Let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life. Prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real-life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Buzz!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we got a very special guest on the show. He's a best-selling author, an ordained minister, and a mental health advocate. He joins us to share his remarkable journey from North Carolina to becoming a novelist and children's author. In this episode, we'll explore the intersection of faith and literature, delve into the power of storytelling for mental health advocacy, and discover the magic of sci-fi and superhero genres in this guest's world of writing. Get ready for a heartwarming and enlightening conversation that will inspire both your writing aspirations and your faith in the written word. Let's start by unraveling your incredible journey here with our author and advocate, Mr. J. Edward Holt. All right, welcome to the program, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's start off with the first question I tend to ask people. Everyone who comes on the show is coming on the show to promote something. There's a business, there's a way of living, there's a way they make their money. What is it that you do, my friend?
I'm an author. I'm an author of primarily young adult fantasy fiction, and I love to inspire people with my writing.
Who's the target audience? You said young adults. The young adult thing goes off in a lot of different spectrums. You can go all the way from the scary movies all the way to the superhero movies, which I kind of mentioned in your intro. Who's your target audience? Who's it that you like to write about or to, so that readers can kind of pick up this type of literature?
Really, anybody that is willing to hear the message or receive the message. My books have messages for people of all ages, regarding love and appreciating family and acceptance and things like that. So, it's a very wide audience, I would say.
It's we're definitely going through some turbulent times right now around the world. I figure this is a good enough time as any. Spreading love is one of those positive things that I think the world needs to hear a little bit more about. You got any 2 cents on that aspect of promoting what your messages are all about?
Yeah, like I said, it's about spreading love and acceptance and appreciation for others. And, I try to do that through all my works, as well as provide readers with sort of an escape from the aspects of real life that are going on and everything. And just giving them a chance to get away for a little while and hopefully have some fun.
Yeah, I'm a fan of books. I'm a fan of movies because they kind of give you that escape that you're looking for. I got a bunch of students in the class and they're about to graduate, not necessarily knowing exactly where to go. I'm sure you remember being 17 and of course you knew exactly what you wanted to do in your life, right? I'm sure. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I know I didn't. What was your educational journey like? How did you get to where you are today? What path did you end up taking?
I had no idea what I wanted to do for a long time. But everybody always encouraged me to pursue teaching. And so I pursued education and, I was going pretty strong with that for a while, but, eventually I just got kind of burnt out with that and decided to go ahead and chase my childhood dream of writing. And so I started my first book and I published that in 2017. But for the longest time, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Everybody was pushing me in a certain direction and I was going that way because they said I should. but it took quite a while before I finally figured out what I wanted to do.
How was that? I'm curious, the pushback you got growing up when you decided to kind of leave a more stable type of environment, focusing on education, focusing on being a teacher, and decided to go do what you wanted to do since you were a child. Oftentimes people might call it reckless or scary. And I think that's what they say a lot about entrepreneurs when they go and take off and do their own thing, kind of follow their gut, follow that passion, that dream. What was it like for you getting started as an entrepreneur, as an author, going against what people were telling you to do?
Yeah, it was pretty frightening at first. But thankfully, because I had always been a writer growing up and everything, I had the support of my mom and dad and a lot of friends and family that were, they agreed with what I was doing, actually. And so I had their support. I had some savings and stuff like that I could work with. And, even though I had the support from most of the people that I know, it was still pretty scary, because it was a risk. But it's something I'm ultimately very glad that I did.
I'm always curious. I remember reading in a Kiyosaki book. Robert Kiyosaki's the Rich Dad Poor Dad author, and he talks about how he was speaking to somebody who was highly educated, a journalist who was writing a paper or an article about him, and she kind of got upset when he said something like where he wasn't a great writer, he wasn't educated in that. And she kind of got upset because here he is selling tons of books when she has taken all the skill set, knows how to write, critiques books, can edit, do all these different things, and she's not selling as much. And I always believed that what he said after that was, notice what she wrote on the article, that he's a best-selling author, not a best writing author. For an author to come out and write a good book, that would be amazing. But for an author to come out and sell a lot of books, that is a feat that's harder to do, I believe, than writing a good book oftentimes. What was your experience like trying to sell your book and becoming a best-selling author and trying to make a living off this versus, having something that you're passionate about, that's great, but selling it, whole different ballgame?
Yeah, it's definitely a whole different ball. It's an entirely different skill set that you have to learn, and it's something that I'm still learning because it's an ongoing process. You can't just you don't just become a bestseller and then you get to stop marketing or you get to stop working. It's an ongoing thing where you have to keep promoting and keep convincing people to read the books. Because not it's not always the best books that get the most sales. It's not. A lot of people think if they write a great book, it's automatically going to sell, but unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It's just like any business or any product. You have to convince people that they need it, and that takes a lot of work, a lot of advertisement, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears going in the advertisement. So writing the book itself, of course, is my favorite part, but it's only it's only a fraction of the whole big picture. And it takes a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of things like that to do promotion. And anyone who's going into the writing industry, you need to be prepared for that, and you need to be ready to work, because it's not something that just happens.
I wish it was that easy. We write about the superheroes and the magic, and we could wave a wand and poof, make ourselves a bestseller, but it doesn't work that way. What advice would you give to somebody who's just getting started as an author, who's just getting started, maybe writing their first book, manuscript, novel, movie script? What advice would you give somebody who's just getting started in this space?
Um, like I said, be prepared to work, be prepared to, make some mistakes, learn some new skills. You have to spend a lot of time learning new skills, like, entrepreneurial skills and, how to sell products and things like that. Be prepared for some setbacks, disappointments. Be prepared for dry spells where you don't sell as many books as you think you should. And, you know, you know, don't think that just because you sell a bunch of books, you know, in 1 month that, you know, that you've hit the big time or something like that, because it may be the next month you don't sell as many and you've got to start working back on it. So, I mean, it's just, you know, I say just be prepared to do a lot of work. But you know, if you really love it, if you really love what you do, like I do, um, you know, for me, you know, it's not just the sales, but the feedback I get from people after reading the book. You know, if somebody just, you know, if I just run into somebody and say, "Hey, I enjoyed your book," you know, that to me that means so much. You know, that means everything to me, and especially when people talk about your books with you. Um, you know, so it'll all be worth it if you really enjoy what you're doing.
Let me ask you about some of those hurdles, some of those obstacles that come in your way. And no matter what you do, whether you have the best plan in the world when you get started in business, there's always going to be a hiccup. There's always going to be mistakes. What were some of the biggest mistakes you've made, and what lessons did you learn from them?
Um, you know, well, I mean, like a lot of writers, you know, I assume that because I had a book that I thought was good, that it was just gonna immediately kind of skyrocket to the top. And you know, it's kind of harsh at first when you learn that it really is difficult getting your work out there to people, and it takes a lot more work than you would think, and it really is a full-time job. You know, between writing, marketing, um, then you take money you earn and put it into marketing. Um, you know, but I guess just kind of learning the hard way at first that it's not going to be an easy journey. Um, you know, and then learning the ins and outs of the publishing industry. There was one time that I was scammed by a publisher, and that was difficult to learn, but it really helped me to ultimately learn a lot more about the publishing industry and know to do my homework better. And you know, it was a difficult thing, but it really helped me in the long run.
Let me ask you about that. The you know, for other businesses, I ask about case studies and things like that, examples. But in your case, I think going through that whole publishing route can be something that can save people a lot of time. I think it's a good example of how an author actually grows, because today you can self-publish, you can self-market, but there are also probably good benefits of working with a publishing company as well. What was that experience like? Do you recommend going through a publishing company directly to publish books, or would you do self-publishing nowadays?
Um, you know, it all depends on the preference of the author, I guess. Personally, I do, and I prefer the self-publishing route because, um, you know, I like to have the creative freedom and all the rights, and you know, the ultimate say so at the end of the day. Um, you know, it is a lot more work with the self-publishing because, you know, you do have to, you know, format your books and hire cover designers, editors, and things like that. So it is a lot more work, but it's um, it's a less stressful process because you make your own deadlines. I mean, you know, you get to decide every decision you get to decide for yourself. And so personally I like that, but you know, going the traditional route with a publisher is also a great way to go. It's a lot harder to get in with a publisher like that, and it takes a lot more time. But you know, whichever way that you can go and whichever way works best for you is ultimately the way to go. But a lot more people are self-publishing now because it's become easier, and there's less of a stigma around it. And there there are still a lot of bad quality self-published books out there, but there are a lot more out there that are better quality as well. So I think again, it's just up to the author.
In your experience, what's it like for a publisher? What is a publisher like looking for when it comes to an author, when it comes to a story, when it comes to a book? Because, you know, in the movies, they glorify it, right? You get this advance to write a book, and then you write your book, and the publishing company sends you on tour, and all that sounds great. But for the average writer, the person who's getting started, they don't get those opportunities. What does it take to work with a publishing company? Do you have to come out of pocket to hire them, or do they work on a consignment or on a commission basis?
Well, no, a legitimate traditional publishing company won't charge you anything. Um, they'll take your work because they think it can sell and everything, but they won't charge you anything. But really, I think it's about, a lot of people write a book and think they're just going to pitch it to a publisher and it's going to take off. But I think a lot of it involves finding out what publishers are looking for and then writing according to that. Because it's always changing what they're looking for. The different types of stories they're looking for are always changing. So, my advice, if you want to go the traditional route, I would say find out what they're looking for, find out what they expect, and write according to that before you submit anything. Because if you don't write what they're looking for, they're not even going to really take the time to look at it. So it's about catering to what's selling right now and what they want you to write.
What do you think is the best book you've written that you've done, where you're probably the most proud of? Probably sold the most books from. Every author has the thing that they're really good at writing specifically. What kind of genre, what kind of book, or which one of the ones that you've written is probably your favorite or most successful?
Um, I love writing anything fantasy. As far as the book that has probably sold the most copies, it would be my first book, which is Little Men, Big Treasures. That one it's been around the longest and it's sold the most, and it's gotten some really good feedback. It's a story about dwarves that hunt for treasure, and it's appropriate for, I guess, what, preteens all the way to older adults and everything, and it's been liked by people of various ages. So I would definitely consider it a success.
All right, and what do you feel you're struggling with the most as a growing author? You've written more books, you've learned a little bit more about the publishing space. You're still in it as an author. What is it that you're struggling with the most to kind of help take your writing skills or your books to that next level?
Um, I guess just adapting to the ever changing world of marketing. It's kind of hard sometimes to keep up with the changing marketing world, and it's always becoming more expensive to market, and your audience is always changing a little bit, so that's kind of a challenge.
Let me ask you about the future of authors and script writers. I know right now a lot of the like people who write scripts for different TV shows and different movies are striking or under fire mainly because we have AI here, right? We have ChatGPT going on. And so oftentimes those things are going to replace a lot of these authors, or at least give them a run for their money. Where do you see the future of being able to write stories, competing with AI, or maybe even using it as a tool?
Yeah, I think that's it's a very I get asked that a lot. I think it's exciting in a way because of the way it can help. It's great for editing or for suggestions or things like that. But as far as writing entire books or something, I don't think it's quite at that level. But the way it's advancing, it may be one day. So I think that you know one day you may have a lot of, or you may have mostly AI written books on the market, and then just kind of have a special niche for, I guess, organically written books. So I think it's going to be exciting to see what happens. I think, I've played around with ChatGPT, and I think it's amazing what it can do. And, I think it's got some great uses. I think that, you just, authors, if they're going to use it to write all their stuff or something, they need to be upfront with it and honest, and, not claim credit for something that isn't theirs. Um, but I think, it could be a very good tool in the long run.
And that's, I think, where that credibility is going to come into play for sure. It's like, did you write it or did ChatGPT write it, or even different? I mean, like you said, sometimes it's an idea, right? Writer's block is an actual thing. There's some times where you get stuck. You don't know where your character wants to go. You don't know how to describe a room or a situation as well. And you can go to these places for ideas and different things to kind of trigger something in your mind to keep going with the writing process. Does that mean that you used the AI or the AI wrote it for you? I mean, were you giving, like, if you ever go to a resource like that, do you have to cite it as like, this is where I got my inspiration? Would you do it if you were outside walking down the street and you saw a situation that kind of sparked an idea? Would you credit that as one of the sources as well? You think that's going to be kind of the issue, the line in the sand that I guess we have to kind of think about when using tools like AI to write books?
It probably will come to something like that. But I mean, it depends on the extent of which it helps you, whether or not you have to credit it, I guess. If it writes, several passages or something for you, I would credit it. But if it just kind of helps you get over writer's block or something like that, you probably don't have to, because, someone could do the same thing, or a Google search could do the same thing, or just simply walking around outside clearing your mind can do that. So I think it just depends on the extent of what you use it, how you use it and how much you use it depends on whether or not you have to really give it credit, I would say.
I totally agree. All right, Mr. Edwards, before we head out here, man, if people want to reach out, they want to find out more about the different books you've written, they want to get copies of your books, they want to talk to you and learn more about what it is you do, how can they do that?
Absolutely, yes. I love writing, but I also love connecting with and hearing from my readers. Their feedback is what encourages me to keep doing what I'm doing and makes it all worthwhile. Listeners can learn more about me by doing a Google search for J. Edwards Holt, or by going to my website, jedwardsholt.com. On my website, they can learn everything there is to know about me and my books, as well as get the news on my latest and upcoming projects. And I also welcome social media followers. I'm always needing more follows, so come give me a follow. I'm on all the major platforms like X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn. And then readers can also reach out to me through email with feedback, suggestions, or fan art, or anything they want to submit at j@jedwardsholt.com.
Perfect, man. Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know for some of you, writing is just something that you do all the time. I know I journal. I'm nowhere near ready to write a book at all. It's not something I really aspire to do, but there's a lot of you who are. So if you want some advice from somebody who's already been doing it for a while, make sure you check out Mr. Edwards' website, jedwardsholt.com, jedwardsholt.com. Jay, thank you very much for being on the program today. Any final thoughts before we head out?
Like I said, just, anybody who's aspiring to write a book, I always tell them, go for it, chase your dreams, and the sky's the limit.
Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for you guys today. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home. Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to